Have you ever pulled into your driveway, ready to unload a long day, only to find someone's parked their junker right across your spot, acting like they own the place? That's how I felt. Except it wasn't my driveway, it was my warehouse, my livelihood, and the culprits weren't just bad neighbors. They were an HOA with a vendetta, a forged document, and a whole lot of nerve. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and this is the story of how I turned their power trip into a $1 million lesson they'll never forget. It was a muggy July morning in Jacksonville, Florida, when I rolled back into town, hauling a trailer packed with $4 million worth of top-shelf outdoor gear, tents, solar chargers, you name it. I'd just closed a sweet deal with a supplier in Georgia, and my head was already spinning with plans for a big weekend sale. My warehouse, a 50,000 square foot beast I'd repurchased fair and square 2 years ago, was my fortress, my ticket to building something real. But as I turned onto the industrial road, that mental checklist of mine, it went up in smoke. The parking lot looked like a flea market had exploded. Folding chairs not mine were scattered around, the kind your overzealous aunt drags to a potluck. Plastic bins overflowing with Christmas garland, a couple of rusty kayaks on trailers, and a handwritten sign taped to my gate. This facility is provided for Crestview HOA community use, per agreement with the owner. No signature, no name, just pure, unfiltered gall. I parked my truck, hopped out, and felt my blood pressure tick up. Inside, it was worse. My aisles, usually lined with neat stacks of generators, were clogged with junk plastic flamingos, a deflated bounce house, and, I kid you not, a mud-caked dirt bike parked next to my forklift like it was a guest of honor. I'm not a yeller, never have been, but I was close. Thank God for the security cameras for Ultra HD units I'd installed after a break-in scare last year. I pulled up the footage on my phone, and there she was, Linda Harper, Crestview's HOA president, strutting in like she owned the place, directing a couple of guys unloading pickup trucks. No key, no permission, bolt cutters, and confidence. I marched over to the security booth, where my night guard, Tommy, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Tommy," I said, keeping my cool, "who the hell let these people turn my warehouse into a yard sale?" He mumbled something about Linda showing up with a fancy paper, claiming the building was community property now. He handed me a photocopy, and there it was, a letter supposedly signed by the guy I bought the place from, Robert Klein. One problem: Klein had been dead for 8 months. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a mix-up. This was a calculated move. Linda, or maybe the whole HOA, forging a dead man's signature to stake a claim on my property. I stood there, surrounded by their tacky decorations and my $4 million in gear, and made a choice. I wasn't going to call the cops, not yet. I had a better idea, one that had hit them where it hurt. First, I got to work documenting everything. Every box, every moldy lawn gnome, every out-of-place chair got photographed, time-stamped, and logged. I called in Sarah, a notary I'd worked with before, a no-nonsense woman who could smell a scam from a mile away. She showed up, took one look at the chaos, and said, "Ethan, this ain't your inventory, is it?" Half of it, I shot back. The other half's a suburban invasion. We spent hours cataloging, Sarah notarizing a report that spelled out what was mine and what was HOA trash, all backed by my property deed. By the time she left, I had a legal fortress of my own. Then I called my ops guy, Javier. "Prep the liquidation protocol," I told him. "Everything. Flash sale, email blast, the works." He paused. "You mean the new stock?" "No," I said, grinning. "Every last thing we own." By nightfall, we had a plan, a one-day, cash-only blowout for dealers and retailers. I reached out to my network guys who show up with vans and fat wallets, no questions asked. Word spread fast. Meanwhile, I dealt with the HOA's junk, moving it to one corner of the warehouse with a big sign. "Unclaimed property, gone by end of day." I snapped photos of that too, labeled the folder "Cover My Ass." The next day, the warehouse was a circus. Trucks rolled in, buyers scanned barcodes, and I didn't haggle. Generators went first, all 60 units gone in 2 hours. Then the tents, water purifiers, emergency kit spoof, vanished. By 6 p.m., the place was a ghost town, and I was sitting in my folding chair, sipping a cold Dr. Pepper, staring at receipts totaling $3.1 million. That's when the tires screeched. A shiny black SUV with a Crestview HOA sticker pulled up, and out stormed Linda, bleached blonde hair, pearls, the works. "Where's our stuff?" she barked, eyes wild. "You mean the rusty kayaks and plastic Santas?" I said, pointing to the corner. "Still there. My stuff? That's long gone. You stole it," she screamed. "That was HOA property." I stood up, calm as could be. "This is my building, Linda. You trespassed, forged a dead man's signature, and you're one tantrum away from a police escort. Cameras don't lie." She froze, mouth flapping like a fish out of water, then stormed off. That Dr. Pepper tasted like victory. But the real fight was just starting. A few days later, a certified letter arrived from a snooty law firm in St. Augustine, representing Crestview HOA. They were suing me for $800,000, claiming I'd destroyed community assets and demanding permanent access to my warehouse. I laughed so hard my cat, Whiskers, gave me a dirty look. I called my lawyer, Rachel Voss, a former Marine JAG who could make corporate sharks cry. She skimmed the lawsuit, rolled her eyes, and said, "They're suing you for selling your stuff because they squatted in your building? Oh, we're gonna have fun." We filed a counterclaim, trespass, forgery, defamation, the works. Rachel was surgical, attaching security footage, Sarah's notarized report, and a handwriting analysis proving Klein's signature was fake. Then we got a tip from a disgruntled ex-HOA board member. Check their finances. We subpoenaed Crestview's bank records and found gold. Linda had been collecting storage fees from residents, $38,000 in cash, funneled straight into her account. No receipts, no HOA records. One deposit even lined up with the day she cut my gate's lock. The courtroom was electric. Linda showed up in a peach blazer, all smug, with a lawyer who looked like he'd rather be golfing. The judge, a woman with zero patience for nonsense, zeroed in on the forged letter. "This is dated 3 months after Mr. Klein's death," she said, staring at Linda's lawyer. "Care to explain?" He stammered, and Rachel pounced, presenting our evidence like a prosecutor in a murder trial. The judge shut it down fast, warning Linda's team to rethink their strategy before it turned criminal. Back home, Crestview was imploding. Residents called me, apologizing, swearing they didn't know Linda's plan. "Ethan, I'm Lisa from Lot 12, one voicemail went. We never voted on this. Please don't hate us." I didn't reply, I let the silence speak. At their emergency meeting, only a dozen people showed up. Linda tried to play the victim, shouting about outsider attacks, but someone yelled, "Where's the 38 grand, Linda?" 2 board members quit on the spot. The HOA was done. We kept the pressure on, freezing their accounts and sending a PI to ask residents about Linda's cash collections. 6 admitted to handing her envelopes, no receipts. The DA didn't blink. Linda was arrested for felony forgery and fraud. The photo of her in handcuffs, face sour as a rotten lemon, went viral in the neighborhood. The HOA dissolved with an 82% vote. Their leftover junk auctioned off to pay restitution. In court, Rachel sealed the deal. We proved $200,000 in lost profits from my rushed sale, plus cleaning and PR costs. The judge awarded me $325,000 and referred Linda's case for criminal prosecution. A surprise witness, Tom, the ex-HOA treasurer, testified that Linda bragged about free storage while bypassing the board. She sat there, pale, silent, as her world crumbled. A month later, I turned the warehouse into Coastal Crisis Hub, a disaster relief depot for hurricane season. Nonprofits signed on, and my crew 6 vets kept it humming. I hung Linda's forged sign in the break room, a reminder, guard what's yours. Linda? She got 20 months in prison, full restitution, and a name that's now a punchline in Florida HOA lore. Sometimes I drive by Crestview, see folks waving, dropping off thank you cookies. They've got a new co-op now, no rules, just neighbors helping neighbors. They invited me to a barbecue, but I'm busy expanding the hub, shaking hands with state officials. This all started because one woman thought she could bully her way onto my property. She didn't just lose, she handed me a legacy. So what do you think? Was I too harsh, or did Linda get what she deserved? Drop a comment. Share your own HOA horror story. I'm reading every one.